So, Garry Nolan is an alien abductee, or contactee if you prefer that terminology. But this is amazing. Garry Nolan, prominent scientist, very famous these days, looking into anomalous events at a very scientific level, at a very high level, with some really great sources, a very public figure these days, a very well respected figure, is apparently a lifelong abductee of the beings. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and smash the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Please share this video on social media and join me there on Facebook and Twitter. There's links in the description below. I'd love to see you there. And of course, comment on the story as I'm going through it. So, yeah, I love Garry Nolan. I eat up everything that he says. He has some amazing insights and amazing research, particularly about the part of the brain that I can never pronounce, that is different in experiencers in people with abilities than it is for, regular people. So, although it's always been unclear to me whether, is the chicken or the egg, did the experience cause the difference in the brain, or did the difference in the brain cause the experience? He seems to lean toward it being, the part of the brain allowing the experience. But I would, push back on that slightly, because experiencers are often lifelong experiencers and generational experiencers, and the beings seem to be tweaking bloodlines over generations, so they could have caused that part of the brain to be different, as a generational thing. So anyway, moving on to the story at hand, and speaking of generational experiencers, Garry Nolan is apparently a lifelong experiencer, an abductee, a contactee. So without any further ado, let's just hear what Garry has to say.
It was at a house that my parents had first bought when after we moved here to the States. Maybe you remember 35 Craigs Road, Windsor, Connecticut. You can look it up. I looked it up actually a few weeks ago and on Google, and it's still there. And it was basically little guys in the bedroom, and I remember calling out to my brother and saying, is that you? And I didn't understand how it could be like two or three of him. And then faces in the window and things like that. And, I mean, other than just memories of them being in the room and being a little scared, and then I guess falling asleep. There really was nothing at that time. It was interesting. It wasn't until actually almost 30 years later that I found out from my brother that he had also seen things. And so that was quite a synchronicity, eventually 30 years apart. And then at our second house on Sheffield Drive, Sheffield Drive, also in Windsor, I was a paper boy, and going between one house and another early in the morning, I saw something over my head. I mean, it wasn't just like far over my head. It was like 30, 40 feet just at the top of the trees. And it was, I can't say that it was exactly saucer shaped, because all I saw really were the lights and kind of a vague outline against the sky because the lights were so bright. But it was, I didn't know what it was. I mean, I saw it go over. It was silent. At best it could have been a balloon, but I don't know any balloons that are traveling at tree height, with lights underneath them. And then I guess many years later in the first house that I bought, we were renting actually when I came out as a professor at Stanford, an assistant professor, something in the bedroom as well at the bottom of the bed. That actually was the first time that I ever heard anything inside of my head kind of like speak to me. It basically says, when I saw it, it just said, go to sleep. It wasn't until actually I was a graduate student here at Stanford. I was in a used bookstore and buying science fiction books, and I came across a book. There was two of them I came across. One was by John Mack, and the other was by Whitley Strieber. And I remember just seeing the cover and realizing that was the face that I had seen when I was a kid, looking through the window or in the bedroom. And the thing about the window was it was like 6 or 7 feet off the ground. So it wasn't like some short person. So whatever it was kind of like, if it was either something very tall or hovering. And it was, I remember just all the skin on my body, like all the hair stood on end when I saw it, and I dropped the book, because it was like, how does this guy know what I saw?
Whoa, isn't that incredible? Garry Nolan is a lifelong contactee or abductee, whichever nomenclature you prefer. A lot of abductees these days seem to prefer to be called contactees. They don't want to be the victim; they are a participant, and I totally respect that. So I don't know which one Garry prefers, so I'll just stick with contactee. And he doesn't specifically talk about abductions per se. I don't know if he has been regressed to remember any of these incidents in more detail, but he clearly has a lifelong history of contact with beings that, are in his bedroom telling him to go to sleep. Why would they be telling him to go to sleep if they weren't going to take him somewhere for some purpose? So, in my mind, that is clearly a sign that he is a contactee, that he is being taken by the beings to their ships or their underground bases or deeper level of reality. Deep Prasad, the famous quantum computer guru, and also a contactee, says that when he is taken, it is like being taken to a deeper level of reality. And that is exactly what many others have said, including Whitley Strieber. I think I got the pronunciation right this time, but let me know if I didn't. But Whitley Strieber has said similar things, and he is an important part of this story because it was Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, and the face on the cover of that book that triggered some memories in Garry. And I think that's fascinating because so many people have had that same reaction to that book. That book triggered so many people and awakened so many memories. I mean, that really touched a chord. And if there was ever any more validation needed for Whitley Strieber's accounts, I think that's it, because he worked with that artist intensively to nail the appearance of the being. And he says the top of the head still isn't quite right. It's not, the head is too small, but basically that's it. Now, Garry isn't the first prominent UFO researcher that is a contactee. I mean, heck, I made a video just yesterday about Lou Elizondo's house being buzzed by a UFO. And that video was taken by Sean Cahill. Now, to my knowledge, in that, we'll see if there's any new information later, but it doesn't appear that Lou or Sean are lifelong abductees or contactees in the way that Garry is. And other prominent UFO researchers that have had experience with the beings, I'm thinking of Barbara Lamb. She was and is somebody that has done thousands of hypnotic regressions on contactees and has written books about these experiences. And I encourage you to seek those out. Some fascinating material in there. And and she belongs in with, I would lump her in with the Dolores Cannon in that camp versus the Bud Hopkins, David Jacobs camp. I call those the silos of information. Those are the two main silos of information on UFO abductions and contact experiences. David Jacobs is very nuts and bolts, and also very kind of alarming. It's kind of a scary situation. The beings are coming here, creating hybrids, and now the hybrids are living amongst us, and they are doing whatever the heck they're doing, preparing the way for the shift, which is the term they seem to use, and which David Jacobs uses in his book, Walking Among Us. And he and Bud Hopkins regressed thousands of people. Barbara Lamb and Dolores Cannon regressed thousands of people. They got a very different result in that it was more metaphysical, more mystical, much more positive. The beings were here preparing for some sort of change, but it was a very good change. The ascension of humanity and Gaia to the fifth dimension. Now, I really resonate with that message. I love that. I hope that's more accurate than David Jacobs and Bud Hopkins research, but I can't discount either one. So let me know your thoughts on that. But the point is that Barbara Lamb, after years of research, was abducted, was taken by the beings. She had a series of incidents where she had missing time and other telltale signs that she was being taken in the beings. And then she got regressed by Dolores Cannon at the next convention that they attended together. And she discovered that the beings had taken her aboard their ship and they had made a copy of her mind. And they were using this to figure out what she had learned from regressing thousands of contactees. They wanted to know what we know about them. And then they were broadcasting this to any incoming beings incoming to Earth, letting them know what UFO researchers knew about them. So that's fascinating. What happened after that? Did they adjust their methods? Did they say, hey, they're on to us, we have to do X or Y instead of A or B that we were doing? I don't know. I would love, some sort of follow-up on that. If the beings could come back to Barbara Lamb and say, hey, this is what we did and thanks for your help. The copy we made of your brain was really useful. I would love to know that. And Barbara is still with us, so maybe she will give us an update at some point. But Barbara Lamb does not appear to be a lifelong experiencer in the way that Garry Nolan is. So I'm not aware of too many lifelong experiencers that are also prominent UFO researchers. So if you are aware of those, please let me know. I know there are a few, but they do seem to be fairly rare. So what does this mean for Garry's research? Has this in any way had an impact on his research? Surely the beings are aware of what he's doing, right? So have they influenced him in any way toward any particular direction? Alternately, have they held him back from any particular direction? Or do they just not care and they're going about their business and they're doing their tweaking of the genes thing and, their abduction thing, whatever that is. And, if you want to see what the beings are up to, go check out Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs, Dolores Cannon and Barbara Lamb. Go check out their books and you'll get an insight into what the beings are doing. Typically, I should say, I don't want to pigeonhole the beings. There's definitely a range of beings, and they definitely seem to have a range of interest and activities. So what is Garry's involvement with them? If he is indeed a lifelong abductee or contactee, what are they doing with him, or what is he doing with them aboard the ships or wherever they take him? Are they teaching him the sort of metaphysical skills that some report? If you read like the Dolores Cannon and Barbara Lamb stuff, the beings will teach people, how to read auras and, about their past lives, and, they'll learn how to heal with their hands and, really cool stuff. If you read the Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs stuff, you'll see how, people are being, it's the hybrid program, and the hybrid programs are now here on Earth, and that the contactees and abductees are now helping them. Some of these hybrids are their children, and they are helping them learn how to adjust in human society. All in preparation for the shift, and many abductees are being taken and being trained in what to do during the shift, like crowd control, herding people aboard UFOs when the shift happens. Is that some sort of apocalyptic event? And people are going to be saved by the UFOs, and the abductees and contactees are being trained in how to do that? Is that what Garry's learning? Is it the Bud Hopkins, David Jacobs stuff? Or is it the Barbara Lamb, Dolores Cannon stuff? Is he learning more mystical woo-woo kind of stuff? I mean, I kind of see that for Garry. Or is it something else altogether? I would love to learn. I would I want to know if he's ever had a regression and, yeah, what's going on. Anyway, a super fascinating story. Let me know what you guys think. Please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I'd love to see you guys there. And check out some of my other videos. I think there's one or so up there. So go check that out, and I'll see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Roads, signing out.